Bible. Get ready to listen to the story of a good man of God called Job. Job, the man God trusted, from the book of Job. Job was a wealthy man living in the land of Uz. He owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 donkeys. Many servants worked for him, and he was considered the greatest man among all those living in the East. Job had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He was a good, blameless, and upright man who avoided evil and regularly sacrificed to God for himself and his family. One day, after roaming the earth, Satan appeared before God. "Have you seen my servant Job?" God asked him. "There is no one like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil." Satan retorted that if Job's riches, comforts, and family were taken from him, then he would curse God. God allowed Job to be tested and gave Satan permission to take away everything Job had, but he would not allow Satan to harm Job. One day, a messenger arrived to tell Job that the Sabaeans had attacked and killed his servants and stolen his oxen and donkeys. As he was speaking, another messenger arrived to say that the fire of God had fallen and burnt up his sheep. The third messenger arrived to break the news that 3 Chaldean raiding parties had made off with his camels. Then a fourth messenger told Job that his children had been feasting indoors when a strong wind swept in from the desert. The house collapsed on them and they were all killed. Job got up and tore his robe and shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground in worship. He refused to curse God for his suffering and sin. "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall depart," Job wailed. "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." Satan, after roaming the earth again, appeared before God. "Have you seen my blameless and upright servant Job?" God asked. "He still maintains his integrity, although you have tried him without any reason." Satan replied that if Job himself was stuck, then he would curse God. God allowed Job to be tested further, but his life was to be spared. So Satan went and afflicted Job with painful sores all over his body. Job took a piece of broken pottery and scraped himself with it as he sat among the ashes, but he would not curse God for his suffering. His wife urged him to curse God and die. "Don't be foolish," Job replied. "Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?" When Job's 3 friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, heard about Job's troubles, they set out to sympathize and comfort him. They hardly recognized the suffering man before them. They wept, tore their robes, sprinkled dust on their heads, and sat with him for 7 days and nights. No one said a word to Job as his suffering was so great. On the seventh day, Job speaks and wishes he had never been born. He questions why God gives life to those who live in misery and turmoil. He complains about his suffering and lack of peace. Eliphaz replies, implying that Job's troubles must be God's rebuke for a sin he had committed. He urges Job not to despise God's discipline, as he not only wounds and injures but also binds up the wounds and heals them. Job replies how helpless he feels and wants to die. He is upset that his friends think God is punishing him for doing wrong, as this is so unfair. He knows God is in control of everything but does not know why God is allowing this to happen to him. Bitterly, he complains about his anguish. Another of Job's friends, Bildad, then speaks to Job, urging him to seek God and plead with him. If Job is blameless, then God will show justice and fill his mouth with laughter and joy. Job replies that there is nothing he can do to make himself right with God. He wishes there was someone who could act as a mediator between himself and God. Job's third friend Zophar joins the discussion by accusing Job of sin while claiming to be blameless. If Job would repent, his troubles would be no more. Job argues that he cannot save himself no matter what he does. However, God has promised to answer when we call to him. Eliphaz continues to accuse Job of doing something wrong to deserve the suffering he is enduring. Job says, what miserable comforters you are. He believes there is a Redeemer in heaven who will vouch for his innocence. He feels he is being treated unfairly as he cries to God for help but gets no response. Job asks why God allows wicked people to live in prosperity and health while he suffers, but knows that God will bring justice in the end. Job starts recounting the good deeds he has done and how he has obeyed the Lord. The three friends stop arguing with Job as he continues to be right in his own eyes. At this point, a younger man, Elihu, who had been listening, joins in and becomes angry with Job for saying he is pure and without sin. He argues that God does not answer when wicked men cry out because of their arrogance. He concludes that people who are afflicted are commanded by God to repent of their evil. Though suffering, they can appreciate God's love and forgiveness when they are well again. He believes Job's excessive talking is an act of rebellion against God. At this point, God interrupts and speaks from a whirlwind. God asks Job a long list of rhetorical questions to show how little Job knows about creation and the power of God. God then asks, Will the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? Let him who accuses God answer him. Job remains silent, then responds by saying, I am unworthy. How can I reply? I put my hand over my mouth. I will say no more. God asks more questions. Job answers, I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know. Job then repents, for he has seen how great the Lord is. His suffering is ended. The Lord is angry with Job's three friends for judgmental advice they gave. They are told to ask for Job's prayers and make a sacrifice. Job intercedes on their behalf and God forgives them. The Lord then blesses Job with twice as much as he had before, new children and a long life.